On this video, we talk about how meditation can help you work with your mind. Stay tuned. Welcome to the new Love Addiction. I'm Alan Robarge, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Let's talk about meditation, explore how to meditate, and then also look at its applications of why it is so important. Meditation can feel, even the word can feel confusing and can feel off-putting. And many people have a sense of not quite knowing what to do, how to do it, and what it means. Now, some of the reason for this is because there's so many different forms of meditation. In a way, you could think of it as like saying, I like art. If I say I like to meditate, it's like saying I like art. And so that really tells us nothing. Like, what does that actually mean? Because art is so broad, and art, there's so many different styles and approaches of what it means to pursue artistic expression. So the same thing holds true of meditation. It's a rather generic word and a generic placeholder because there are so many different types. Because there are different types, that creates confusion, and it creates confusion around the intention of why we're doing what we're doing and how we do it and what outcomes that we're looking for and what is the form or not the form. And we generally don't live, as far as Westerners, we don't live in a culture where meditation is part of our history, and we did not grow up in families, for the most part, that had some form of a contemplative practice such as meditation. And so we're really coming at it new and fresh as adults, and trying to integrate and learn something, a different way of relating to your experience. So because there's so many forms and because it's so confusing, generically we can begin to think about there are some meditation practices that focus on awareness, and there are some meditation practices that focus more on concentration. So there are certain techniques that are designed to increase or cultivate the awareness of mind. And then there are certain techniques that are designed to enhance your focus and your concentration. Let me give you an image to help make that make sense. If we have a candle in front of us, or if I'm meditating and I'm sitting and I'm noticing the candle, and I'm allowing my mind, I'm allowing my sight, in my line of vision, I'm really focusing on this candle, and maybe very, very specifically, I could be focusing on the flame. Now, that is strengthening and enhancing my mind's ability to have fixed concentration. Now, awareness, think of more expansively. Think of a kind of 360-degree panoramic view of the room. And because 360 video camera is a bit popular right now, or is coming into advanced technology, there's these videos where you watch the video and you can take your cursor and you can turn in direction and zoom every which way, and you have a 360 panoramic view. So meditation practices that have a technique and an intention and comes with instructions that are designed to cultivate awareness. Just imagine your mind has this capability, this capacity for a 360-degree view. And so through this meditation, we are enhancing the image. Before was a candle in the room, and we're focusing on concentrating on the candle. If we're using meditation to cultivate more awareness, Now we're aware of the whole room. We have a 360-degree view. Now, this is held lightly. This is held as a kind of intention. We don't literally have a 360-degree view, but we are allowing ourselves through our senses to let in the reality all around us. We're not just letting in the reality of the candle. We're not just letting in the flame of the candle. We're not intently focusing all of our concentration on the candle. Instead, it's more expansive, and we're beginning to take in information and cues and sensations coming at us from all directions. This is cultivating awareness. So to repeat, meditation is vast and means many things. It's a rather vague and generic word. We can begin to break down two categories to say some meditation practices focus more on strengthening concentration, and some meditation practices focus more on strengthening awareness. There are different styles of how we do this. Usually, each style, the difference in the styles, has to do with how much of an object, and I'll put that in quotes, how much of an object we need. The mind is discursive. The mind is going all over the place. The mind, it's referred to as monkey mind, and it's bouncing all over the place. I'm thinking about a sandwich, and now I'm thinking about picking up my dry cleaning, and I'm thinking about I need to go on vacation. Oh shoot, I need to pay a bill. Don't forget to pay that bill tonight. Oh, I'm reading a book. I remember I just finished a chapter in that book, and oh, that was delicious. I really enjoyed that chapter. Oh, I forgot I'm supposed to call my friend. I didn't call my friend back today. And it just goes on and on. It's discursive mind. It's bouncing. It's ping pong mind. It's monkey mind swinging from tree to tree. So meditation offers some techniques to say, where can we rest our attention? Where can we rest our focus to create an object of focus? And it gives the mind something to do. And if we are able to let the mind relax into its job of staying focused on the object, we then can begin to notice, if we're coming at this from the place of awareness, we can then begin to notice what else is going on around us. If there is a way for me to practice streamlining or bringing the mind into some place of focus to give it something to do, I might also start to notice other thoughts, other feelings, other patterns of thought that are not caught up in this habitual, reactionary, ping-pong, monkey mind going all over the place with no rhyme or no reason. So certain techniques introduce different types of places where to put your focus, where you can focus your mind in order to distract your mind enough so it doesn't get in the way of you paying attention to paying attention. So that's essentially, generically, very simplistically, the bare bones definition of what we're doing. Meditation is no frills, no excess, superfluous, added layers. It's stripped down to let's pay attention to paying attention. So some of these other techniques or different techniques have different suggestions about where you place focus or how you could create focus. The example I already gave of having a candle in front of you, you're instructed to notice the flame. You're instructed to stay focused on the candle. And when your mind wanders, you just come back and it becomes a reference point. And there's other meditation practices that offer your mind a reference point. That could be a guided meditation, which is often more of a narrative, which is telling a story and saying you're walking down a path and you're walking in a forest and you come to the edge of the forest and it opens up into a meadow, and you're in that place, and you realize that you're able to let in love and inspiration. So this kind of narrative storytelling is a way to preoccupy your mind and create some focus while you're also staying present and breathing and allowing yourself to pay attention to paying attention. Another example would be having a mantra. One mantra might be, may all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. And we repeat that in our mind slowly, sometimes not so slowly, but with a sense of rhythm. And we're not overly focused on exactly the words or saying the words. We're using it as a placeholder and a reference point to give myself something to do to preoccupy my mind so that then I can also simultaneously pay attention to paying attention. And it's this return to when my discursive monkey mind takes me to Miami, and when my discursive monkey mind takes me to, oh, I better check my email, and oh, now I realize I didn't answer 3 emails, I better answer those tonight. But now I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for breakfast tomorrow. So in order to help the mind come into a place of settling instead of being bouncing all over the place, we employ some of these techniques, and a mantra might be one of those techniques. May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. And we breathe. May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. And we can slow down and we breathe into that. I also just mentioned the breath and mentioned breathing. So that itself can also be a technique. There are some meditation techniques that are strictly focused on your breath. And we don't focus on the full inhale and the exhale. We could even just focus on the exhale. And that gives us a break from having to focus at all. That allows us to release into having some job or task or assignment. And I don't have to be rigid about noticing my breath. I'm just going to check in and pay attention. Again, it's the reference point. The breath itself is the reference point. Now, why do we need reference points? What's the value of that? There is an assumption, because of the nature of mind, because of the nature of ping pong mind and monkey mind, that we can trust that I'm going to disappear. We can trust that I am going to be distracted by my own thought, and I'm going to enter weaving some story about something that happened. And then I'm off. Then I'm engaged in the story. And I could be away for 2 minutes. I could be away for 4 minutes, for 10 minutes. And if I'm meditating and I have been following this really juicy story, imagining he said this and then she said that and this happened and oh, how dare they talk to me like that? And could you believe that my boss at work, she did this and then that happened, and then I wake up. I'm meditating. I thought I was meditating. I'm actually not meditating. I'm completely caught up in this story. I have got sucked into the story, so much so that I have forgotten that I'm here. I'm not here. I'm in my story. I'm not paying attention to paying attention. If we have some kind of place, a way, a technique to focus our attention when we wake up from the story and when we realize that we have been lost in some narrative and some juicy drama unfolding in our mind, and we realize, oh, I have not been present, I have not been paying attention to paying attention. Well, the technique, I come back to the technique, and that helps me focus. That helps ground me. So if it is the breath, I return, I immediately bring my attention and focus back to the breath, and I exhale, and I'm here, and then we start all over. And we just notice, can I stay here? Can I continue to pay attention? And what do I notice? And then I'm going to pay attention again. And then what do I notice again? The challenge of this, as I've already said, is that the mind wants to keep on going. And this is part of the obstacle and the confusion around meditating, in that many people think the purpose is to stop thinking. That is impossible. That does not make sense. If I tell you in this moment, stop thinking, go, you cannot do it. The mind just keeps going. So our goal is not to diminish thoughts. Our goal is not to have attractive thoughts. Our goal is not to create relaxation and feel good. Our goal is not to seek entertainment. The example I gave of a guided meditation. Some people use guided meditations as a way to court feeling good, and it gives themselves a kind of entertainment to go on that narrative journey. They perhaps, oftentimes when that's the case, we're not really cultivating awareness. We're not really strengthening our skill to pay attention. We're engaging in a form of entertainment and in service of feeling, discovering something about ourselves. The point of meditation, and again, there are many, depending on the outcome or the lineage or the type of meditation practice that you've been introduced to, could have a different answer to what the point is. As I have defined here, the point is to pay attention to paying attention, and from the perspective of healing and from the perspective of psychotherapy, we want to use meditation as a contemplative practice to learn how to work with your mind. So meditation is a user's manual. Many people, we know someone will say, I wish there was a user's manual to be a human being. I wish there was a user's manual to just how do you even work with your brain? How do you work with your mind? Meditation, very much to approach it as a science of mind. The intent is to pay attention to these thought patterns and these thought processes. And if I am able to strengthen both my ability of concentration and both my ability of awareness, together that concentration and that awareness will enhance my ability, my skill to notice the quality of my thoughts and to help me notice when I am reactionary to a particular thought, to help me notice when I have the ability to let in reality and when I shut down to reality, to begin to notice certain thoughts, feelings, and sensations that I am able to be open to, and those thoughts, feelings, and sensations that I shut down to and I close off from. So the first stage, the first intent is to allow yourself to be open to simply observing your mind. We do this by doing nothing, literally sitting, breathing, and doing nothing. And because of that, because of what I just said, sitting, breathing, and doing nothing, what I am sharing is not sexy. It is not entertaining. It is not flashy. It really has a almost boring, it's not necessarily boring, but it's uneventful. We are going to sit here and breathe and slow down. We are not going to be distracted. We are not going to try to feel good. We're not going to try to look for meaning for our anxiety. We're not going to try to solve a problem and have some great aha moment and insight enter. We simply are going to sit here and notice what comes up. Usually when we do this, we notice a lot of discursive ping pong mind. We notice a lot of monkey mind. And we're off. We're thinking about all these things that appear to be unrelated, that appear to be a bit disconnected. However, if we do this enough, if we practice this enough, we can begin to notice patterns. We can begin to notice the quality of our thinking. So that I might be thinking about paying a bill, I might be thinking about going on vacation, I might be thinking about I need lunch and dinner. And if I'm starting to look at the quality of those thoughts as they pop into my mind, I might be able to discern, wow, all of those things I just mentioned is that I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated in paying a bill, I'm frustrated that I can't go on vacation, and I'm frustrated that I'm hungry and I'm thinking about dinner. And so I can begin to notice, as I'm paying attention, I seem to really have a good number of thoughts. I am spending a significant amount of time engaged in thoughts that are letting me know I'm frustrated and reinforcing feeling frustrated. Well, that's good information. That's really fascinating. Of all the things to think about in the world, I seem to think about things that come with a feeling of frustration. Well, that's helpful information because I begin to then question and find out, well, where and when do I have choice? What are my choices to not be frustrated? And how long has this been going on? And it might open up a realization that for an incredible period of time, maybe my entire life, my brain has been programmed and I have mindlessly, like a puppet, participated in having a series of ongoing thoughts that are reinforcing that I'm frustrated, I feel frustrated, and I see the world from the point of view of being frustrated. Well, that's valuable information. That translates into, how do I work with my mind? What is the quality of my mind? What are the quality of my thoughts? In the spirit of simple meditation guidance, a simple how-to, we want to keep it simple. And what this means is we're going to focus on your breath. You're going to have a good sense of head and shoulders. You're going to have a sense of good posture. You're not going to slump over and be, completely like you're ready to fall asleep. You're also not going to be too rigid where you give yourself a backache, or too rigid where your mind cannot soften because your body is so hard. So you're going to find a way to sit down comfortably. You can sit on the floor, you can sit in the lotus position, you can sit in a chair or on a meditation bench, and you can have your hands in a soft or light touch on your legs. You can turn your palms up, you can turn your palms down, you can turn one palm up and one palm down. Some people like to touch their index finger to their thumb. You can or cannot do that, or touch other fingers. There are certain spiritual traditions that explain what are the benefits of doing that and why you would do that and where that comes from. And for the sake of this video, you can lay your hands lightly on your legs. So you have good head and shoulders, you have good posture, not too tight, not too loose, and you breathe. And you pay attention to paying attention. You pay attention to your breath. You pay attention to the rise and fall of your chest. And you pay attention to how you're sitting in the chair. And you pay attention to the room around you. And you begin to create a softened gaze. You soften your eyes. You don't need to overly focus. You're not trying to do a math equation. You're not trying to look at the calculator and hit the number using the calculator. You're not trying to be overly focused on any one object in the room. You can be slightly just soften or blur your eyes in a way that you are paying attention, but you're not purposefully really trying to stare at any one thing. And then we come back to your breath. We come back to your breathing. So again, we have good head and shoulders. It's often referred to as mountain. If you think of the base of the mountain and the top of the mountain, and the mountain is secure and stable and very reliable. So you allow yourself to drop into mountain, good head and shoulders, good posture, have your hands resting on your legs, and you begin with your breath, and you just notice the rise and fall of your chest, and then you really can notice the exhale as well. The exhale in your nose, feel the air exiting. And then there's a bit of a pause, there's a bit of a empty space, a neutral space between the inhale and the exhale, and then your lungs just sort of kick in. There's that involuntary aspect of breathing, and then it starts all over and you take an inhale, and again it's the rise of the chest. And as we're doing this, we are slowing down, and maybe your mind is not slowing down. So you're setting the intention for your body to slow down. You're setting the intention to pay attention to paying attention. And your mind might be going a mile a minute. Your mind might be hooked into some drama at work. Your mind might be preoccupied with, I am hungry and I need a sandwich. Your mind might be hooked into sexual thoughts, and all of a sudden you find yourself distracted and pulled into sexual thinking. And you notice that, and you come back to the breath and use the breath as an object, and you remind yourself the intention of sitting here, and you notice your good head and shoulders and your spine and your posture and your breathing and your hands on your legs, and you take a breath. So I want to give you an image of clouds passing through the sky. And just imagine that the clouds are thoughts. So if I want to go on vacation to Miami Beach, one cloud represents Miami Beach. The Miami Beach just sort of floats into my mind. So the instruction is we cannot get rid of the clouds. We cannot stop the clouds. Sometimes the entire sky will be covered with clouds, and maybe they're even storm clouds. And other times the sky will just be clear. When a cloud comes in, we let the cloud do its own thing, and it exits. It just sort of floats through the sky, which means it floats through our mind, and we don't get hung up on the cloud. We don't start looking for pictures and images in the cloud. We don't start talking to the cloud. We don't start remembering our history with this cloud. Let's say if it's a thought of Miami Beach, I don't start thinking about what Cuban restaurant I'm going to eat at in Miami Beach. I'm not going to think about Gloria Estefan, who lives in Miami Beach or owns property and hotels in Miami Beach. I'm not going to think about what kind of SPF number I need to make sure I don't get burnt when I'm sunbathing on Miami Beach. I let the cloud pass. I don't fuel it. I allow myself to say, oh, look, there's a thought, and this one happens to be about vacation. And as best I can, I come back to this moment, to this present moment. And I can do that by saying, yes, I know vacation is there. Yes, I know Miami Beach is there in my mind. And I know that there's any possibility of many things I could think about my amazing trip when I go to Miami. But I'm going to let it float out of my consciousness. And I do that by coming back to what is happening here right now. And I might be able to hear the air conditioner. I might be able to hear the bus go by the apartment. I might be able to hear a siren from an ambulance go by. I might notice the brightness of the lights in the room. And I realize, wow, it's really bright here all of a sudden. Now that I'm just paying attention to paying attention, the light bulbs seem bright. And then I come back to, I don't even give that too much thought. So even the light bulb, the light, I don't have to linger too long on that. I come back to this moment. Another image, same idea of the clouds, is you can also just think of them as a bit more concrete and think of them as ducks or birds flying through the sky. we let it pass. We just let it go. We let the thought come in and let it go. We let the thought come in and we let the thought go. A challenge with all of this has to do with intention. That because there are so many different types of meditation practices and that promote different outcomes and promote different goals for using meditation, many people come into meditation with the intention of feeling good and they want to relax. And so it's a technique where they are fighting the reality of where they are at, which is, let's say I'm anxious. In the type of meditation that I am proposing here, a very basic, bare bones, let's pay attention to paying attention. Let's cultivate an awareness of our mind. In order to do that, we cannot manipulate what is or isn't happening. We cannot manipulate our feeling states. We cannot be judgmental of certain feelings that we like and certain feelings we don't like, certain thoughts that we like and certain thoughts that we don't like. So if I am anxious or while I'm meditating, if anxiety comes in, the goal is to treat it like a cloud and let the anxiety float through my mind, and I notice it, but I'm not particularly interested in getting rid of it, and I'm not particularly interested in immediately countering it by manipulating myself to feel good or to feel calm or to feel relaxed. This is one reason why meditation gets convoluted and gets confusing, is that a number of people are trying to use it in a way to manufacture the type of states of mind that they like. They're trying to manipulate their mind into feeling good and manipulate their mind into pushing away those feeling states or those thoughts that feel bad. What I am proposing is to be as neutral as possible, and that is what is meant by the phrase observer self. We are strengthening your observer self. Now, what is the purpose of strengthening an observer self from the point of view of healing and from therapy? If you have the skill, if you can strengthen your observer self, you strengthen your skills to observe. That's obvious. It sort of sounds like duh, right? If you can strengthen your ability to observe the patterns of your mind, that will give you some clarity as to what new types of ways that you can begin to approach your mind. We do not, when we're meditating, practice taking on the new ways of behaving. That would be too intrusive. That would be too manipulative. What we need to do initially is to calm ourselves down enough through breathing to welcome whatever experience comes up, which might not be calm. So there's a bit of a paradox here. We are attempting to be calm with those parts of ourselves that are not calm. We are attempting to stay present, available, open, centered, and grounded to no matter what type of clouds come through my mind. And maybe it's not even a cloud. Maybe you're sitting here and a tornado comes through. And so again, what we're to do is to breathe, come back to the breath, come back to good head and shoulders, come back to mountain pose, pay attention to your arms resting on your legs, take a breath, and we're going to say, hi, tornado, hi, thought, that really difficult, powerful, destructive thought that just came into my mind. I'm able to sit here. I'm able to breathe with it. I am able to sit here and notice how long it takes for that tornado to pass through the sky of my mind. I'm going to notice my desire to get rid of it. I'm going to notice my desire to want to run away. I will notice my desire where I get fidgety and I want to, get up out of meditation and leave and just end, meditation is over in that moment. I could also notice how then I want to label meditation and say, well, meditation's bad. Meditation's not going well. I had this tornado come in. I just couldn't focus. I couldn't get past the tornado. And so meditation doesn't work for me. I don't like meditation. Meditation's not helpful. I don't even really understand it. You're doing it fine. There's nothing to understand. There's nothing to get rid of. When the tornado comes in, that's your experience. You pay attention to paying attention. This strengthens our ability to be present with reality. And if we're talking about attachment injuries, if we're talking about attachment trauma, if we're talking about relationships and insecure attachment, in those moments, if we're in some kind of love addiction, codependency exchange, when we're with someone, our relationships are suffering because we're not staying grounded in reality. This practice of meditation, the practice of strengthening your observer self so that you can pay attention to whatever is actually happening right now in the moment as it's happening, and just notice the tornado instead of losing your marbles and reacting and freaking out and throwing things and getting into arguments and jumping up and down and having temper tantrums, or imploding or dissociating or falling asleep, or immediately needing to seek some self-medication or distraction or entertainment, or getting into an argument about it. We don't need to do that. We can observe. We can slow down and observe, even though our mind is not slowing down, because our mind is currently in a state of its tornado nature. This can be invaluable to help you when you're relating. Because the application is that if you do this enough, if you notice your mind, if you notice how to work with your mind, if you notice these habitual patterns, if you strengthen the observer self, which allows you to identify or stay more grounded in reality, eventually you do this enough when you're sitting in meditation, you do this enough when you're sitting on the mat and cushion in meditation, that you start to take this skill and quality with you throughout your life. So you're not actually in a meditative, disciplined practice, but you're standing in line at the bank, or you're out to dinner with a partner, or you're on a date, or you're with a family member at some kind of family outing, and you notice that these really difficult tornado thoughts enter your mind, and the old habitual way in your family or in the situation when you're out to dinner with a partner is for you to be reactionary and for you to lose your marbles a little bit and to allow the tornado to take over. And you then overly identify with the tornado. You would be overly identifying with the monkey mind. If you practice this meditation on your own, and it needs to be disciplined, and you set aside some time, and you do this enough for 3 months, for 5 months, for 8 months, and you begin to realize that when you're not sitting, when you're not on the mat and cushion, when you're not in the meditation chair, that you're showing up in this world with meditative mind. And that you take the skill, the strengthening of the observer self, the strengthening of awareness, the strengthening of the concentration with the awareness is what is referred to as mindfulness. So now you have this ability to be more mindful, to pay attention to paying attention. It means that you're less reactionary, and it means that the experience of what's going on in your thoughts are not have as much power or control over you as as if you're a puppet to those tornado thoughts, or a puppet to the discursive monkey mind that's taking you all over the place and pulling you to Miami Beach yet again. I don't want to go to Miami Beach. I want to be here. I want to be here now. I want to stay. I want to stay in my life. I want to be present. And I really want to do this because relationships are important, and I want to be in a real relationship. I don't want to be in an imaginary relationship where I'm on a beach in Miami Beach. I want to be in this relationship. When I have dinner, I want to have dinner. When I go for a walk, I want to go for a walk. When I am sitting with my partner and getting to know my partner, I really want to be able to listen and be present and be available. I don't want to be distracted in all of these crazy monkey thoughts pulling me every which way. And when a tornado comes up, then share my tornado with my partner. And then I'm reactionary. and I'm overreacting. Mindfulness practices, practices of meditation that cultivate awareness, strengthen our observer self so that it develops a skill so that we can bring this level of discernment and attention to our relationships. That's the value. That's why we do this. And it is a practice. So you are invited. Please practice. Please make an effort. Sit down, notice your mind. It will not be easy. You will float away. You will end up in Miami Beach, and you might end up running into Gloria Estefan and talking to her on the beach. And then after 2 minutes, 5 minutes of that, you pop back out, you pop back in, and here we are. You come back to mountain pose. You come back to good head and shoulders. You come back to breath, your hands resting on your knees. And you let in what is actually happening in this moment. That is a foundational instruction for meditation. I hope that this was helpful. Please subscribe to this YouTube video. There are others just like it on its way. If you want to learn more about me, please do. You can go to alanrobarge.com. And then also lastly, there is a Facebook group of the name The New Love Addiction. And if this type of content interests you, in addition to meditation and talking about certain healing practices and modalities of ways to work with mind, it is a group that talks about healing attachment injuries, attachment trauma, and what do secure, healthy relationships look like. If that interests you, please feel free to check out the group, The New Love Addiction. And until next time, more videos on their way. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.